Dr. Nell Thomas is a family physician in Minden and is deeply involved in issues dealing with our environment, in particular, those that damage our lives from rising temperatures. And I want to thank you, Dr. Thomas, for joining us once again. Good to see you. Thank you.
Always my pleasure, and thank you so much for the opportunity, Mike.
Now, today, Dr. Thomas, I'd like to zoom in a little bit and get a little more local. I want to talk about food security in the HalIburton Highlands and a significant undertaking, one that you envisioned a while back, called the Food Alliance. And let's start by talking about what that is and what the objectives of the Food Alliance would be.
Yeah, so the Food Alliance is a formalized collaboration of local skills and goods that ensure food independence and security for HalIburton County. The Food Alliance mission is to ensure food provision and equity for all, including the most vulnerable. And the project includes mechanisms to reduce food waste from grocery stores, restaurants, schools, hospitals, gather up food surplus by creating a well-oiled machine that would collect the surplus very predictably and out-of-date food from grocery stores, etc., and transport these goods to kitchens, to local nonprofit kitchens. You can think about Food Alliance as an alliance of three main components. So one, the food growers, producers, and suppliers. Two, the food preparers and nonprofit kitchens and the organizations that have the infrastructure to put food into long-term storage format, freeze-dried, dehydrated, for example, as well as put the food into meals for use now. And the third component of the Alliance is a storage system that allows cataloged and categorized safe food storage for use now and in the short term and potentially in the distant future. So the storage would not be reliant on refrigeration for safekeeping over time. The vision is a collaboration, and it's best visualized as a synchronized or choreographed sequence of integrated steps, really a community food plan that ensures everyone is provided for, that reduces food waste, that is motivated to be sustainable, and reduces or eliminates food waste in the landfills. And this is a key component. The food waste in landfills is currently contributing unacceptably to greenhouse gases and global warming. So integrating a logistical system of gathering food waste and reducing the food waste in our landfills, the household food waste, and potentially returning that food waste to farmers for compost, brings the whole thing into an integrated system. I think of it as like cogwheels all connected, and when the cogwheels start moving, then the entity moves faster and stronger as each one of these components becomes integrated into it, kind of like a machine.
So as you developed this idea, this concept, obviously it's rather unique, something that I've not heard of before. Why is this so important right now?
Good question. So despite what people would like to think about our current economy and consumer society and our lifestyles being something that is sustainable, it's not. And it's very much threatened. So preparing and accommodating our lifestyles and preparing for food shortages is critical. Whenever there's a shortage or a threat of a shortage of a commodity, then we are suddenly required to rethink how we use this commodity, whether it's fuel or available cash for your groceries or your milk in the fridge. The last bits of the milk in your jug you're going to use differently from when it was full if you're rationing. So we are faced with the need to reduce waste and to ration and to pay more attention to how we can better use our dwindling and threatened food commodity. So in this case, we're talking about food growing, transportation, distribution, packaging, the use and the waste of food, how we've been doing it on this planet. And there's critical need to better use the food that we are growing. I mentioned in one of our previous interviews, there's a 30 to 40% waste of food that's grown on our planet that's never eaten. 30 to 40% of food grown is not eaten, and about 60% of the food waste can be avoided if we just do things differently. So there's a need to get ready for a changing global food production and distribution system on Earth. And as our world warms and inevitably the arable land and available agriculture is threatened by extreme changing weather, even just, the measurably reduced health of our soils and the decreased nutrients of the foods currently grown and the loss of a safe food supply, the challenges in the countries that we are dependent on to get our food from. So not only do we have hungry people and increasing food costs in our community, but the problem is in every community. And, the global hunger statistics, I pulled this one, 733 million people globally faced hunger in 2023. I don't remember the local food stats for the use of the food banks here, but I know it's exponentially increasing. And again, this is not a unique problem to HalIburton. So as our resources are threatened, we are all motivated to find a better way to use our food commodity. In February 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, I realized how threatened our food supplies were, given the potential for destruction of Europe's breadbasket and the disruption of fuel, the availability of energy to transport foods. And I said, wow, we really do need to get a lot more locally independent. So the global food production is a system that actually doesn't have much wiggle room, doesn't have a backup if one or two components are threatened. It's remarkably vulnerable how we have allowed this to happen on our planet, even looking at the effects of container ships. So, blocking the Suez Canal and the volume of food traffic and fuel traffic that is dependent on the Suez Canal. And I think there's something like 7 critical points or junctures on our planet where if any of those points is disrupted, we won't have food. It's really that vulnerable. There's no safety net. So that's including also, gas, food, fuel, oil, etc. It's a global problem, and it becomes more necessary for us to look locally at what we can and should be doing to be better prepared for local food provision, to be less vulnerable to the economic and political threats and climate change, obviously, and the effects on food availability and transport. So Food Alliance is necessary here in HalIburton to help us better manage our own resources, to reduce our waste, to relieve local hunger, and ensure sustainable and secure systems to establish a community system approach.
You mentioned a number of key stakeholders that will have to be involved. Are there other members in the community that need to be a part of this Food Alliance for it to work?
I've spoken to many people here since February 2022. Now I am a full-time physician and I have lots of other projects I'm working on. So I kind of come and go from my the phone calls and connections and tasks that are part of getting a project moving. I've spoken to many people here, from small-scale farmers to commercial farmers, businesses that have community projects like Abbey Gardens, the volunteer organizations. Also, I've connected with the health unit, key health professionals at the health unit, obviously ULinks, Harvest HalIburton, Gina Robertson at Search, the Edwin Binney Gardens, the local Garlic Association, Environment HalIburton definitely is involved. Tina Jackson at the Central Food Network, the incredible HalIburton Farmers Market, the Legions, Luba Cargill's Apple Project, the Abbey Gardens Food Hub, the Master Gardeners, the grocery stores. There's a lot of folks involved here. Also, Triple HS, so HalIburton Health Services, and discussing with the CEO components of reducing food waste from the kitchens at our long-term care and the hospital.
So
So
when you
yeah,
talk to these people about the concept, what's the reaction being from them? Are they supportive of the Food Alliance?
absolutely. So everybody loves the vision. People want to be part of a collaboration. And when you think about it, really, this is a collaboration of things that already exist. So, the components are already there, from the farmers to the farmers markets to the grocery stores and the food banks. I mean, they're all there. They're already doing these things. Um, and, what happens is people don't have extra resources, they don't have extra time. And so they say, yeah, this is a great vision. So, especially for the farmers and businesses, there needs to be an incentive for them to invest in this vision and be part of this vision. So, if Food Alliance, really is just pulling the know-how of what's there and integrating it into a well-oiled machine. And so the interconnected cogs will come together and build a momentum. And I think, given the enthusiasm that everyone has, and I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. I don't believe in, starting things that you know, have to be started from scratch, because all of this is here. And already you said that you aren't aware of this type of vision elsewhere, but in fact, it does exist in many communities. So integrating the components of the food industry and including even, the landfill and waste folks to have a dedicated green waste pickup system that can bring that back to the farmers' gates. All of this is in fact happening elsewhere. So folks here are very enthusiastic. They see the vision. The movement is already happening in towns and cities and communities worldwide. So we really just need to find grant money, and there already are some grants that are being used, and some volunteers as well to sit down and yeah, put together kind of the nuts and bolts and logistics for some of the components here.
Now, when you look at the project, one that obviously is very, very close to your heart, what would be the first big step or next step from your standpoint to signal that this is actually starting to happen? What has to take place?
Mm-hmm. Um, so I'm thinking about, having the grocery stores sign on to a system that would enable them to feel comfortable and trust there's a mechanism for pickup of surplus or salvageable foods. And I think that would be a really good starting point. So a lot of the farms, the produce is very time sensitive and it goes to market. And the grocery stores actually have the same challenge. So the grocery stores require a reliable, predictable system, and they have both fresh and canned foods. So their inventories are perpetual. There's a constant balance of what's coming in and what's going out, and it's a scanned inventory system that is done by computers. And so the scrap food is measured, and it would be really nice to have a predictable, reliable system of trucks or pickup that the grocery stores can rely on, so that they can put that into their already busy kind of system. And the grocery store owners are very keen to do that. They don't like the idea of food being wasted, and they already have systems in place where food banks, for example, are receiving some of the food. But unfortunately, for example, in Minden, the Value Mart grocery store is part of Loblaws, and so the scrap food is picked up and it's taken back to Toronto because it's part of Loblaw's bigger mechanism system. And so
Oh my
that
goodness.
food is going back to Toronto and goes to the food banks in Toronto. It's not being used here. Some is being used here, but a lot of that food is not staying here. Out of date goods and day olds and this type of thing, there's very strict timelines. So I think a really good next step for Food Alliance is to establish with the grocery stores here a predictable reclamation, reclaiming of the foods that that the grocery stores can rely on and know that it's coming back to our local systems here. Then it goes to our kitchens, and then it gets turned into food for use.
Now, you've talked about a number of aspects of the Food Alliance, including storage and a shorter term and longer term storage of dried foods. And when I look at this mind map that I see in my own head, this is a huge undertaking. If you were to put your best guess, is this something that's going to take 3 to 5 years or longer to finally see all those cogged wheels connecting with each other?
I think potentially it could happen a lot faster. So, we're motivated to do things when necessity is the mother of invention, right? So we can talk about things theoretically, and I can, surmise when there might be food shortages. But what if there are food shortages as soon as next year or this winter? Then obviously people kick into gear, and systems get established a lot faster out of necessity. Connecting people, finding time, finding resources, it's always a challenge. People love the concept. As I said earlier, farmers need monetary incentives, so do the grocery stores. Finding the grants and the volunteers is essential. But if we really were up against it and we really didn't have food on our grocery store shelves, we would be doing this already. So, it's kind of a theoretical right now. But so to answer the question, conceivably, it could be within 2 years. Yeah.
So is this one of your key objectives personally, to see this project get some acceleration and begin to move quickly?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm very invested in this. I was invited to, well, I applied for and was invited to an international event last October in Montreal called Future Adaptations. And Future Adaptations is an invitation to people around the world who have creative solutions for food shortages, farming. And there I was, a Canadian, because it was held in Canada for the first time ever. But most folks that were there were from Africa, third world countries, where there's a lot more motivation to come up with systems. And the Food Alliance model was definitely intriguing, but not necessarily adaptable or even suitable for some of these other countries. I did connect also with some federal policymakers, and feel that there is room for policy establishment that will force us to better use our food waste from the grocery stores. So working alongside, having government policy that can help to drive behavior change, and rules and regulations about how we use our food and our food waste is part of this as well. That's kind of working alongside. But that oftentimes you need the government law to impose law and policy to make things happen. For example, seatbelt laws. So, sometimes it's just the way it is. And perhaps the vision, when it's established and functioning, can be a role model that would inspire policy. But the two things kind of work in tandem, I guess, and feed off each other, and having policy that directs behavior and having behavior that invites policy. I think the two go together.
Well, Dr. Thomas,
each other. It's synergy.
This is definitely an exciting project, and one that you're passionately committed to. I want to thank you for this insight, and a round of applause not only to you, but also to those who are involved in the collaboration and who will be involved. It's definitely an important step forward for the HalIburton Highlands. Thanks so much for being our guest today.
Yeah, once again, thanks for asking. It's a really wonderful opportunity to present this to our community this way, in this format. So thanks again, Mike.
You're more than welcome. Dr. Nell Thomas is a family physician in Minden and is deeply involved in issues dealing with our environment and food security. If you'd like more information on the impact of rising temperatures on our lives, go to heathealth.ca. I'm Mike Jaycock. Thanks for joining us.